back to the channel, you guys. Welcome back to Ironclad RC. Today's part 6 of our fast electric RC boat build series. This is a Deltaforce mini sniper. We're going to be drilling out the through hole for our steering linkage, installing the steering rod, the through hole, the whole nine. So stick around. Yeah, she's turning out nice, huh? Yeah, she's turning out good. That epoxy set up nice in our last video. I got the servo installed. We're about to start the linkage. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of go over what I'm using for my steering rod and how I got it and how you could possibly get a whole roll of it for free. So, push-pull steering on a one-to-one boat. The old school push-pull steering cables, they have this type of end on them, all right? They come in a cable that looks something like this. Now, inside of it is a stainless steel cable, all right? That's what turns the motor, okay? So you cut your cable open and you'll get the rod, all right, which is this, and you'll get this nice little Teflon liner that comes out of the push-pull steering cable, and a bunch of these little steel rods, which I use those for different things too. They come in handy, but I use that for my push-pull steering. I'll epoxy this Teflon liner type deal into the transom of the boat, and I use this for my steering rod, kind of like I have here on my wife's boat. I built this homemade boat for her a while back, and yeah, I just epoxy this tube into the hole. Boom, boom, free. Usually you can go to your local marine shop, you know, outboard mechanic shop. He probably has a whole pile of these cables laying around. He'll probably give it to you for free. They come in 12, 15, 20 foot lengths. Cut the ends of them off and you got you a free cable. Now, I don't throw the ends away. I use the ends, the linkage part, for pick tools, all right? So it's kind of a bonus. You get a bonus, you know? I've got several different bends on the ends of these steering linkages that I use them all the time. I mean, they come in handy. So yeah, I just wanted to throw this out there. Now, Paul Cooper, he's another YouTuber, great guy. I've been talking to him for like the last year. Paul Cooper is his channel name. He uses a kitchen whisk, like a whipping whisk, for his through hole, like his steering rods. So, you know, you can go one of two ways and basically get you a cheap, or if not free, steering rod, steering linkage, through hole, the whole nine, picks and everything. So if you hadn't checked out Paul Cooper, check him out. If you hadn't checked out your local marine outboard motor mechanic, check him out. He might be able to help you guys out. So let's get to it. Let's get everything lined up and get our hole drilled for the through hole. That rudder turned out nice. Where I notched the rudder out, you guys see that? So we've got to figure out where we want to put the hole in the transom for our through hole. And the way I kind of do that is I'll just kind of put my rod on my servo, kind of a straight shot to the transom there, all right? And I'll use the bolts, the screws, the nuts as kind of a reference point. So kind of split the difference from the highest point and the lowest point of your servo horn. Kind of split the difference on your rudder arm, all right? I noticed whenever I had the rod just sitting in there just now, it came out about dead nuts in line with these screws right here, if not a little bit lower. So you want a good steering geometry. You don't want your hole coming out here, you know, or too far on the inside, because it's going to put a lot of strain on your servo. So you need to actually you know, take your time, figure out the best position, the best placement for your through hole. All right, so I think I'm going to go like about right here. All right, just kind of splitting the difference on my servo horn, the highest point, the lowest point, split the difference, and then kind of split the difference with with your servo and your rudder arm, and it should give you a nice geometry. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and drill out the hole. This is an 1/8 inch Teflon liner that came out of the cable, and I've got us an 1/8 inch drill bit. These things here come in handy. All right, so like I said, a little bit lower final answer. All right, you can always put your connector on the bottom of your rudder or the top of your rudder. You can do a Z-bend on your servo horn, or you can put like a quick connector. All right, so I'm gonna go right here with mine. Man, it's gonna be tight getting my drill bit in there. Oh man. Alright, so I got the hole drilled. Alright, just got my steering rod set in there for the time being. I've got it in my little connector here. Steering connector. I don't have it locked in. I just got it dry fitted with my ESC and battery in the boat. Let's see what it looks like whenever we're steering the wheel. Yeah, that looks good. It looks like a perfect straight shot. See that? That's nice. All right, so let's use one of these heavy duty easy connectors. All right, one of these guys right here. Okay, and you just stick it in your rudder arm, and they have a temporary connector and they have a permanent connector. I'm just going to use the temporary connector. That's the permanent one, the metal one, and the temporary one is this little rubber guy right here. Let's throw that on. Before we do, let's put our rod on. All right, slide that in the hole and put our little temporary connector in. All right, connector's on. I got the little set screws tightened down. Let's see what it looks like here. Yeah, that's gonna work. That's gonna work. We got a nice straight shot to the servo, straight shot to the rudder. Perfect steering geometry. Perfect, you guys. Perfect. See that? I got just a plastic gear servo in here, so I needed to make sure my geometry was perfect. I'm using a plastic gear servo because it's going to cut down on weight. I have other servos that I could use, a little better suited for the job, but I think this will be good. I just got done waterproofing it with Corrosion X. It's just a little cheap Onyx $10 servo. And it should be good. Should be good. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I think a short one's gonna work out perfect. A little shorty right there. Yeah. Actually, a little bit longer. Let's make it longer. It's the nice thing about this free cable. You can waste it because you got plenty of it. My dad would pull steering up. Yeah, boy, yeah. You was pushing and when you should have been pulling. I guess that's why I got a baby boy on the way. I was pushing when I should have been pulling. So I'm just gonna kind of chamfer the edge, kind of make a little valley there for the epoxy to sit in here. All right, and then we're gonna get this bad boy epoxied in the boat, you know. All right. Let's get the epoxy mixed up. Our hole is perfect size for the tube. Our steering geometry looks good. All right, the hole's in the prime location. What I like to do with these like plastic tubes so the epoxy sticks to it, I'll take some 80 grit and rough it up. All right, where it's going to go through the hole. All right, just kind of rough it up so it looks something like that. This stuff's pretty thick, okay? And we're going to get our 5-minute epoxy. I use 5-minute epoxy for this. There's no sense in going 24-hour for a through hole for your steering linkage. It's above the water line basically. So we're going to do the 5-minute deal. Got us a Q-tip ready, a couple of coffee stirring sticks. Thank you, Circle K. All right, so I'm just gonna mix it up here, and I just put it right on my through hole. All right, and slide it in there. I'll epoxy in the boat, and I'll epoxy outside the boat. I usually leave I'll leave it long in case I get epoxy in the tube. We can we can cut a little bit of it off. You know what I mean? So I got some epoxy on there. All right, and we're gonna slide it in the boat. The Q-tip's gonna come in handy because we're gonna have some runoff. All right, and I just spin it until it starts to get hard. I'm gonna get this little run before it gets too bad, and I just keep spinning it until I get it where I want it in the boat. Usually past just like right where I sanded it is where I want it to sit in the transom. Let's go ahead and put some in the hole. You guys aren't really going to be able to see it. You're just going to have to take my word for it. I'm going to put it in the hole around the through hole, just like you would a stuffing tube. Make sure it's nice and sealed up. The next day, everything's cured out. That ain't going nowhere. It's going to be waterproof. All we have to do is cut down this through hole, cut it down here, cut it down on the inside, run our steering linkage through, and we'll be done. Let's cut our through hole off on the inside. So we have full throw here and full through right there. All right, so I'm going to cut my linkage just behind full throw, since my linkage geometry is perfect to my rudder. I'm going to cut it right here. I want to try to leave it as long as I can because I'm going to put grease in here to keep water out of the boat. Instead of using a boot, this is how I run my steering linkages without the boot. We could always, you know, I could have put my through hole in for the boot, you know, made a little notch right here and epoxied that into the boat, but I like to use these tubes. That's just how I do things. All right, just gonna leave just enough on there, you know, for some adjustability. That's it. All right, so let's get the servo hooked up so we can find our center. You want to make sure you got it centered out before you cut any of your steering rods. So that's dead center. I've got I'm gonna push a few millimeters back on our front one. Make sure we got enough room to work with. All right. We should be able to get that in our connector here. We'll go ahead and put a permanent cap on the bottom of this guy here, because I usually don't have to take this one off. So a permanent backer. Okay. The closer you go to center, the more steering you have, the farther out you are, the least amount of steering you'll have, or the less travel, I should say. Okay. she is done. The steering is done. Stainless steel screw in. Then we got a brass breakaway screw for the back. So I kind of made a special tool to put my screw on my servo horn. It's really tight in there, and my flex driver won't work. So this is an old ratchet that I had. It's old. It's copper or brass. But I don't have any bits for it, and I've never really used it. So I found a bit that would accept this little screw, and I just I went out to my shop and I grinded a couple of little edges down on it. Alright, and that's just going to help me get this screw in and out. And I can tap this out and then put it on the other side to make it go the other way. I just lost some screws, so I gotta find it. Alright, got her in, huh? Gotta be creative sometimes, you know? Let's check her work here. Let's make sure everything's working right. Plenty of throw, right and left. So that looks good. Nice and smooth movement. Before I go out, I'll put a little bit of oil or grease in there, and that'll kind of block the water from seeping in. The inside looks good. I used the little push connectors on the back of my linkage there. I had to get a little bit creative with how I got my servo horn installed into the boat. This is a tool I've never used before. I picked it up at a flea market because it was brass, you know, and it was old. Never had any bits for it. This is the first time I used it, so it come in handy, you know. Had to get a little bit creative. Flex driver came in handy installing the screws into the servo mount. But yeah. Coming together. The next video, we're going to install the stuffing tube. Alright, so thank you guys for watching. Big B with Ironclad RC, a channel where we tinker, test, and tune everything RC. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.